What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the Dread Pirate Dr. Disaster, and considering that the formula for designing visually appealing characters in successful video games isn't exactly a secret, it is absolutely flabbergasting that so many studios keep pumping out stuff that looks like this.
Get that nasty shit out of my face!
Yeah, this character is Yatzli from the upcoming Obsidian game Avowed, and she looks like a Thundercats reject crossed with the character design of Mary Jane from Spider-Man 2. Not exactly the most appealing design that we've ever seen in video games. Now, contrast this with one of the main NPCs from Monster Hunter Wilds. This is Gemma, the blacksmith from Monster Hunter Wilds, a fairly normal-looking female character that accomplishes the task of not making you want to gouge your eyes out when you see her.
Well, you certainly know how to compliment a woman.
The thing is, gamers don't actually need all their female characters to look like Eve from Stellar Blade, in the same way that not every male character needs to look like the square-jawed, muscular Bruce Wayne from the Batman Arkham games. Gamers are simply drawn to aesthetically appealing, interesting designs. In other words, if you don't go out of your way to make characters ugly, as they so often do in games today, but if you don't do that, you can probably sell some games.
That's easy!
Yeah, you'd think that'd be really easy, and for some titles, like Monster Hunter Wilds, it really is. That game has aesthetically appealing characters in spades, and naturally, the monsters in a Monster Hunter game look pretty nifty as well. Wilds is just an extremely visually appealing game, and gamers have rewarded that by putting it into the top 10 bestsellers on Steam damn near 2 full months before the game releases. The retail sales numbers are extremely high as well, as I'm hearing, and as I'm going to show you in a minute here. We are looking at the potential for Baldur's Gate 3 type numbers on this game. Meanwhile, its competition, Avowed, features bland and even flat-out ugly designs, and it's not even in the top 600 bestsellers on Steam, despite the fact that it releases about 2 weeks before Monster Hunter. It turns out gamers flock to normal-looking games and avoid the hell out of the ugly stuff like this.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
Whee! What a predicament!
But anyhow, let's talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. We've known this game was going to be a huge hit for quite some time now. As I'm sure many of you remember, back on October 31st, when Dragon Age the Veilguard came out, Monster Hunter Wilds released their open beta, going head-to-head with that game that all of the so-called industry experts believed was going to be the major powerhouse title of the season, and the Monster Hunter beta absolutely crushed it that weekend, and the game cracked the top 5 on the Steam top seller list, while Dragon Age the Veilguard, which featured ugly characters that nobody wanted to play as, that game has absolutely cratered. And Monster Hunter has been the #1 most wishlisted game on Steam pretty much ever since that weekend. Meanwhile, games like Avowed are languishing in the hell of nobody giving a rat's ass about them. The pale-colored, ugly character design with an overemphasis on the color purple has been done to death. So despite the fact that the game, that Avowed, is a sequel to a moderately successful franchise coming from a once much beloved studio like Obsidian, it is getting completely blown out of the water by Monster Hunter. Though, in fairness, everything is getting destroyed by Monster Hunter. This is a game that legitimately has the chance to challenge a title like Baldur's Gate 3, which hit 875,000 concurrent players at its peak, or Elden Ring, which broke over 950,000 players at its peak. The beta for Monster Hunter Wilds went over 460,000 players, so we are talking about some big numbers that we can expect from Monster Hunter. I'm not sure that we can quite expect it to reach the heights of Elden Ring or Baldur's Gate, but even getting around half those numbers and breaking, say, 500,000 concurrent players would be an incredible achievement, which Monster Hunter should be able to do fairly easily based on the information coming out of the retail stores that I'm in contact with. I reached out to my contacts in the retail world to see how Monster Hunter was stacking up in sales of their pre-orders compared to the likes of Elden Ring. Baldur's Gate 3 was a mostly digital release, so these stores don't have any data for that game, but I got some interesting data which tells us that Monster Hunter is selling extraordinarily well. My first contact, which is a person with access to 9 retail stores that sell video games, that person told me that in those 9 stores, they have already sold 77 pre-orders for Monster Hunter Wilds. We're about a month and 3 weeks ahead of its release, and after digging up the data from a few years back, I was informed that the pre-orders for Elden Ring in these same 9 stores was sitting at 111. Meanwhile, in these stores, aUdIeNcE has sold 2 pre-orders. But anyhow, my second contact in retail is someone who runs over a dozen stores selling games, and in those stores, they are currently sitting at 96 pre-orders for Monster Hunter. These same stores, a month and 3 weeks prior to the release of Elden Ring, had sold 137 pre-orders of that game. And now, for reference, aUdIeNcE is sitting at 4 pre-orders in those stores. My third contact is someone who has access to the sales data of 17 retail stores, and in those 17 stores, they have already sold 136 copies of Monster Hunter. And in these same stores, they had sold 179 copies of Elden Ring at this same juncture before its release. And aUdIeNcE is currently at a mere 5 pre-orders in these same stores. Lastly, I have a contact with someone who has the data for 5 retail stores that sell video games, and in those stores, they've sold 37 copies of Monster Hunter Wilds at this point. Unfortunately, they've had some difficulty acquiring the data for the pre-orders of Elden Ring from a few years back in those stores, but we can at least make this comparison. In these same 5 stores, aUdIeNcE currently has 1 pre-order. But what is really interesting to me is that the pre-order sales of Monster Hunter Wilds in all these stores is at around 70% of the total pre-orders for Elden Ring in those stores. Now, we don't know if that ratio will translate directly to Steam. If it did, then we would see a max concurrent player count of around 660,000 players for Monster Hunter when it drops. I'm not sure if I have the stones to throw out a prediction that it will reach those rarefied numbers. My gut is telling me that it gets around 500,000 concurrent players at its max on Steam, but who knows? The game is appealing to gamers, and the franchise is a big deal. This is definitely going to be one of the biggest smash hits of 2025. And now, I know there are some people out there who want to claim that the game will be woke. There was some worry about armor that was supposedly going to be usable by both genders back in the summer, but these armor sets, it was revealed, have both a male and a female variant. So, even Grums here has said that he no longer is worried about the game. He thinks it looks good, but I'm going to leave it there. What do you predict the max concurrent player count for Monster Hunter will be when it releases next month on Steam? Drop your thoughts into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.